In the coming 5 days, I'm spending 22 hours on the national airline of Saudi Arabia, Saudia. I will try everything from a 2-week-old plane to an ancient 747 used for Umrah and Hajj flights as I hop around the Gulf and Southeast Asia. This will be an exhausting but exciting trip that I cannot wait to bring you along for. Alright, good morning from Dubai Terminal 1, a terminal I find myself at quite often it seems. And today I am embarking on a 22-hour adventure with Saudia. So it's been almost a year since I flew Saudia for the first time. That was also the last time I flew them. That was on a very different type of aircraft, their 777-300 in an older seat. So today we get to try a significantly improved product. I'll tell you all about the deal I booked and why I booked this later on in the video.
And this is my very first time on Saudia, so it's going to be exciting to see.
Over the coming days, I'll be flying an incredible fare that I've written down in the description from Dubai to Kuala Lumpur, taking me first from Dubai to Jeddah, then onward to Malaysia before returning a few days later from Kuala Lumpur to Medina, and finally completing this round trip to Dubai. In total, I will spend 22 hours on board Saudia planes. Okay, wow, I've literally never seen DXB Terminal 1 this busy. We arrived late as always, so it was even more stressful than normal, but now we're heading to the gate. Boarding should start in 5 minutes, so far so good.
Like right here, it's not busy at all, but like during immigration and all of that, it was insane. Dan has been trying to convince me that they're not all that bad, so it's up to the test now.
When I told him we were flying Saudia, he was like, do we have to? I was like, don't worry,
no, okay,
it's worth it for the deal.
I didn't react quite that badly, but you know, when there's the option of like Emirates and then you have Saudia, it's like I don't really know what I'm getting myself into, but
yeah, and that's what's interesting, because I think most people still feel that way when they're searching flights, and I get it. I mean, Emirates A380 is always a good option. Today's aircraft for the first leg is an A321neo delivered to Saudia less than 2 weeks before this flight. How cool is that? Let's hope there are no loose doors on brand new Airbus planes, huh? Jokes aside, you can feel very safe on this plane and almost all other planes. Upon boarding, I'm impressed to see that every seat has a plush pillow waiting on it, and blankets are offered by the crew after boarding. These are similar to the seats chosen by Oman Air and Gulf Air on their newer aircraft, and I really like them. There is one problem though. There's a huge lack of storage, which is really noticeable immediately, and it's crazy to think in an aircraft delivered 2 weeks ago, you just wish you could go back and be like, There is a little storage, but not nearly enough. As far as recliner seats go, this is definitely among the top despite that shortfall. Okay, a feast of different dates. Oh wow.
Date buffet.
This is a good start to a flight. The single most impressive thing on Saudia is the pre-departure service. We're first offered hot towels and then Saudi coffee with a choice of 3 different dates. I love this concept, and weirdly, I don't have it on any of the other Saudia flights I take on this trip. We are also offered menus. There are 3 options for mains on this flight, which is mighty good, and as you'll see in flight, the portions are massive. Dubai International Airport is especially busy today, so our pushback is delayed. When we finally make it to the runway, I realize, oh my god, we've been sitting on this aircraft for over an hour already. I love being in the Gulf this time of year. This flight was obviously a few months back, but I gotta say I'm super excited to head to Malaysia and onwards to Singapore for one of mine and Oscar's best friends' weddings. As a bonus, I'm also excited to eat at one of my top 3 favorite restaurants in the world that happens to be in Kuala Lumpur. The views on departure from Dubai today are breathtaking. I'm hoping to work on this flight, but discover there's no Wi-Fi, which is a huge letdown on such a new aircraft. At least the entertainment selection is quite good. I opt to rewatch Barbie, partly because I'm curious to see how they've censored it, but I actually don't notice any censoring, which is quite surprising considering that even Mad Men was censored on my previous flight. The crew start the post-departure service in no time, but not before I have time to rush to the lavatory. Wow, this is the nicest A321 lavatory I've ever seen and actually feels, dare I say, slightly spacious compared to what we're used to seeing on these types of planes. Is this Airbus airspace in action? I guess. When I get back to my seat, there are nuts and some non-alcoholic bubbly waiting for me. Honestly, this drink is not my favorite. It tastes like Pepto-Bismol, which isn't a good thing, at least for me. The meal arrives not long after and is pretty much identical to what I was served for dinner almost a year ago when I last flew with Saudia. It's not bad and the portion is massive, which I appreciate. The highlight though is this deliciously pulpy orange juice. I also order a green tea because I can only imagine how sparkling and shiny clean the onboard water tanks are for once. The rest of these 3 hours go by very quickly, and before I know it, we're approaching Jeddah. There's no more in-flight service unless you ask for it, but what we got is more than enough, and today's crew couldn't have been more helpful. Upon arrival in Jeddah, the so far great experience begins to deteriorate.
Alright, we made it to Jeddah. Pretty sure we're the only people on the whole flight with shorts. For a brand new terminal, this transit path feels very rustic and strange.
There's literally no signs, and the whole immigration area is just packed. So I was lucky that Dan had been here before, because I think without his guidance, I would be lost.
I think this is the train to the transfers. This airport isn't really made for transit, at least based on the fact that there is minimal information for transit, including no signs to the train. I've transferred here before and I still find it confusing.
So we have about an hour until our next flight boards. We're gonna head to the lounge, have a little bit to eat, drink, maybe use some Wi-Fi for a bit.
And I just want to say that I just realized that I am unintentionally matching with Saudia today, so I'm all out Saudia.
Sponsored as always on Nonstop.
No.
Although I didn't love it last time, Saudia's Al Fursan lounge seems like the best place to spend our layover, and I'm excited to hopefully have some good meze. Well, it turns out I was being positive during my last visit. This lounge feels so much like style over substance, it's quite sad. There are so many features that have so much potential to be really cool, but they are mostly poorly done.
I have a lot to say about this lounge.
I end up having to walk all the way across the lounge to find someone who can help me with something as simple as a Wi-Fi password. Not having the Wi-Fi code almost doesn't make a difference once I connect because...
Okay, now that I finally connected to the Wi-Fi, literally nothing is working. Nothing is loading, so it's like, I just need to get some stuff done while we're here.
The food, sadly, is also a huge letdown. This doesn't feel especially fresh or luxurious. I feel like Saudia could definitely take some inspiration on lounge buffets from Emirates and Qatar Airways, and honestly, even Gulf Air and Oman Air. The two biggest drawbacks of this lounge for me are the complete lack of natural light and the fact that it is freezing. If anything, this feels like the perfect place to catch a cold between long-haul flights. On a positive note, to mitigate that risk, they have some really nice rest areas. I'm very excited to leave the lounge and head on board what will undoubtedly be my best flight of these 24 hours, at least I think so.
When I booked this flight 6 days ago, it was supposed to be operated by a 787-9. The plane has since been changed to a 787-10. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing. I guess we'll find out on board.
If you're not sure if that's a good or bad thing, I definitely don't know if that's good or bad.
No, just in terms of the video and the overall experience, but the planes are pretty much the same age that we would have flown. So now we'll get to see what the 787-10 is like.
Here's the one who always has to be healthy and then make me feel guilty when I'm not.
taking the stairs. I'm like, okay, we have a red eye ahead of us landing at 6 a.m. We don't need to exhaust ourselves more than necessary.
We only have to wait 2 minutes before it's time to board the bus.
Getting to breathe some fresh Jeddah air. There doesn't seem to be a business class bus, but that kind of makes sense because there's a total of 60 people on this 787-10. That's pretty crazy. I love how literally almost the entire terminal is completely empty. There's no planes at gates anywhere, but then we still have a bus gate.
Yeah.
What's the logic?
What the heck?
Soon enough, our gorgeous 787-10 is right there. I quite like this version of the Saudia livery. The Saudia 787-10 is quite unique in that it has the same number of business class seats as their 787-9, 24 to be exact, between the first and second set of doors. However, given the longer fuselage, there's a small economy cabin behind us as well. And as always, I've opted for the last row and seat 6 Alpha. All seats here are pretty much equal apart from 6 Delta, which you usually are not able to select. Why? Stay tuned. What's the one thing every traveler needs, and what's the one thing that's the hardest to find at a reasonable price with good quality? A travel adapter. I cannot tell you how many different adapters I've gone through over the years, especially since almost none seem to fit my criteria. They need to have multiple USB-C ports with fast charging, preferably 65 watts or higher. They need to work in almost all countries. They need to be safe, which is a huge concern for me with many low quality adapters. So back in January, I went on a search, and after lots of time, I decided to buy a Tesson travel adapter. Now guess who recently reached out wanting to sponsor a video? The travel adapter company I ended up choosing after hours of research. Tesson. This adapter comes with 2 USB-C ports, 2 USB-A ports, and transforms 4 different sockets into 1 universal AC outlet, allowing you to charge up to 6 devices at lightning speed safely with double fuses. The adapter is small and light, works in over 200 countries and territories, and best of all, it's affordable. Make sure to buy your Tesson travel adapter before traveling abroad at the link at the top of the description or by scanning the QR code right here, right now. Welcome aboard Saudia's 787-10 and a very whelming cabin. That's right, it's very standard, but what I immediately notice is not standard is this crew. I can tell immediately they'll be extraordinary based on their massive smile as they guide us to our seats. I'm excited because by all measures, this should really be the best flight of the trip, and to me, a good crew makes all the difference. There are 12 passengers in business class today, and we're first on board besides one other guy in 1 Alpha. Given the culture of privacy, I feel like it would suit Saudia quite well to introduce fully enclosed suites, but the privacy is still good enough here. We're welcomed with menus, an amenity kit and headphones, as well as a hot towel. There's also Saudi coffee, which again is delicious.
My 3rd coffee today. At least it's not as strong as normal.
I could probably spend 22 hours on this plane alone, so it's a shame the whole journey won't be on here. The problem for a long-haul journey of any kind on Saudia is that, again, this aircraft doesn't have Wi-Fi. The entertainment is also playing up a lot, so the in-flight map doesn't work through the entire flight, and my screen keeps restarting every 20 minutes. Luckily, my plan is to work, finish Barbie, and then sleep. So, as I settle in, I quickly have a look through the very extensive menu.
By the way, in case you didn't figure it out yet, by looking at the menu, Saudia is a dry airline, so you expect really good non-alcoholic drinks, and this flight seems to have a much better selection of that than the previous one, which makes sense since this flight is much longer.
Then I unbox our incredibly impressive amenity kit. This is a 10 out of 10 for me and genuinely feels like a nice gift rather than an afterthought. 10 minutes before schedule, we push back and taxi to the runway. Before I know it, we're blasting off toward Kuala Lumpur, and boy am I ready for some more food after that disappointing lounge selection. On my previous Saudia long-haul flight, I commented on the fact the pilots were not only sleeping, but eating and watching movies in the cabin with the passengers, which is quite unusual. Well,
That up there is the crew rest. So, even though there's a crew rest, it seems like the crew also rests here.
anyhow, the service begins with some hot nuts and this delicious blended strawberry non-alcoholic bubbly, so-called Rossino.
This one, wow. Oh my god, this one is so good. Rosini, I think, from the menu.
By the way, I cannot emphasize enough how good the crew is on this flight. Amila and Endang are stars and deliver true 5-star service. The truth is, it can't be easy to deliver this meal with a smile when the look on my face must somehow convey a small hint of terror because, you know, this is the exact same meal I was served on my previous flight. It tastes really nice on this flight again, but I know Saudia can do better than this. Dessert is a beautiful but relatively simple fruit plate, and as soon as I'm done, I figure, okay, time to sleep. I recline and realize something I can't quite believe. The bed is not truly lie flat. I'd say it's at about a 170-degree angle to the ground or the fuselage, but it's enough that it's noticeable. Many hours later, I wake up 25 minutes before landing, which is very late by the standard of airlines in the Middle East. How did I sleep? Like a baby. Amelia even asks if she can get me something to drink, so I ask for a glass of oat milk, which is served less than a minute later. I slurp it up and we touch down in Kuala Lumpur.
Okay, we made it to Kuala Lumpur. I got like 6 hours of sleep, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, me too. It wasn't like bite-sized pieces, but still, you know.
Yeah, and considering we went to sleep at like 6 o'clock on our body time, that's unbelievable. I'm
Very
so
impressive.
happy about it.
I'm always so excited to be back here, even if just for a layover, except when I miss my flight like I did this time. Oops. Let's fast forward just a few days to my next Saudia flight, this time on a vastly different aircraft, the Boeing 747. Are you ready for the most different flight ever? Yes, I'm still flying the same airline, but this is such a wildly different experience as I fly from Kuala Lumpur to Medina. That's right, on Saudia's Boeing 747-400 used for Hajj and Umrah flights. I already made a full dedicated video to this flight, so I won't go over the background about this fleet. Check out the card in the upper corner now if you're interested. We head to the gate in Kuala Lumpur behind our crew who work for Airline to Europe, the airline that operates this aircraft. I am so excited to hop on board, you cannot even imagine, especially since I have no idea what to expect. Wow, isn't this a throwback? These are former Air France business class seats since this aircraft flew for Air France over a decade ago. Yes, they're not as flashy as the reverse herringbones on my previous flight, but I don't care. They are more than comfortable enough, and as I enjoyed the lovely Saudia pre-departure service with hot towels, Saudi coffee, dates, and juice, I realized, oh wow, this flight might just be the most fun of the whole trip.
Alright, all settled in. This is just so fun. In the nose of the 747. What a classic. It's such a unique feeling seeing how the fuselage just keeps getting narrower and narrower, and then there's just a wall in front of us. There's nothing.
To enjoy this experience to the max, I take a seat back in economy, which looks equally retro, just so I can enjoy an even better engine view as we depart towards Saudi Arabia. Sadly, you can't see much here during takeoff, but the wing view gets awesome as the flight goes on, so stay tuned for that. Back in my business class seat, I check out some of the more interesting seat features like this retro remote and this surprisingly functional recline. We have in-seat charging and streaming entertainment today, so we can stay better informed than on my 787-10 flight days prior with a broken map. That is pretty ironic. Oscar and I are both exhausted at this point, so we decide to start the flight by sleeping for a few hours. It's not like we're in a rush with 9 hours of flight time anyway. The bed is slanted and retro, but I sleep like a baby again. The nose of the 747 is really such a wonderful place to be. Saudia doesn't offer mattress pads on any non-US flights, but I find my own sort of solution to that. This is also an instance where I'm so grateful that Saudia offers dine on demand so you can eat whenever you want. Hours later, I wake up and immediately look out the window because what a view. Since I'm hungry now, I decide to check out the menu. Let's be honest, this flight isn't supposed to be good. It's a religiously motivated flight where most people have booked tickets through tour companies, yet the menu, just like on my other flights, is very impressive. In contrast to my other flights, the catering isn't from Saudi, it's from Malaysia. That means I'm excited to see what else they serve today, and this is what I get for breakfast. Interesting choice. It's not bad, but I actually prefer the normal old Saudi catering on my other flights if I had to choose. I enjoy this with a side of iced coffee with oat milk before I order an Arabic meze. With the meal out of the way, I decide to dedicate the rest of the flight to this flying playground. What an experience! Eventually, we approach Oman and the stunning empty quarter. I struggle to comprehend just how fast this flight goes by, and as different as it is from most flights I've taken in the past few years, I'm grateful to get some fun and variety on this very long journey. We wrap up the flight with some pasta as well as another delicious rosino and another Saudi coffee with dates because why not? They even give me a box of dates to take with me since they notice how much I like them. That is a nice touch. Now, is there a better way to end a flight than with this heavenly wing view? I don't think so. We bid farewell to the lovely crew and disembark by bus. Talk about another amazing way to end the flight. Also, what a view of the mountains in the background. Oscar and I traveled around Saudi Arabia, including Medina, back in 2022. You can check out our vlog from there in the card right now. It turns out there aren't many people who transit here, shocker, so the experience is very quick and surprisingly smooth. Saudia passengers get access to the prime class lounge here, so we decide this is where we're gonna wait out our long layover. Okay, the 22 hours are nearing an end finally. We just spent 4 hours in the Plaza Premium Lounge here in, where are we even? We're in Medina. And great lounge, by the way. I was getting a headache because I'm so tired. So I asked the front desk staff if they have painkillers. They don't, but she gave me one from her purse. Everyone has been so nice. The service on every single flight, so good. At the airports, so nice. Just the Jeddah lounge was a bit of a letdown service-wise, but everything else, thumbs up. And yeah, 20 minutes till boarding for the very last flight. And I'm ready for some sleep. All right, we are heading to our gate. The weird thing, or I guess it's kind of good, is we're flying the exact same aircraft. Not even the same aircraft type, the exact same aircraft as I flew just a few days ago from Dubai to Jeddah. Now we're flying it from Medina to Dubai.
So there won't be much new to show you besides the in-flight experience in terms of food, drink, service, which of course I'm excited to check out because I'm hoping we don't get the same food for the third time on a Saudia flight.
During our walk to the gate, we passed by some traditional Saudi cafes.
It's funny, like, I wonder what people expect to see in Medina airport. And then it's like Dunkin' Donuts and basketball.
This is all you would expect from Saudi Arabia. It's all the American chains.
Medina Airport is honestly beautiful, and so is our A321neo, the exact same one we flew just a few days prior.
If you're the type of person who's like a little bit scared of adventure and you just want to do something that's like very low risk as your first adventure, try transiting in Medina. It's a pretty cool experience.
Without much wait at all, we hop on board and back to the same row as we flew in previously. You gotta appreciate how far cabin technology, even something as simple as overhead bins, has come. You know, since the days of the 747-400. We have another round of hot towels and Saudi coffee with dates. I mean, of course, it's not like we can ever have enough of that.
With saffron. Amazing.
One more hot towel. Had quite a few of these Saudi towels in the past 4 flights now.
I perused the menu again, which looks great as usual, and I can't help but wonder what I'll be served this time. Since everything else is pretty much the same, surely at least the meal can be different, right? Let's take off and find out. The answer to that is no. It's pretty much the exact same meal for a third time. It seems like Saudia hasn't historically been used to people ordering special meals, so again, this is tasty, but I'm starting to regret booking round-trip flights on Saudia. If you order gluten-free, diabetic, vegetarian, etc., this is something to keep in mind when choosing your airline. One last beautiful sunset later, we touched down back where it all started. What a trip.
And just like that, back where it all began on the same aircraft. It would have been extra trippy if it was the same gate. Then I would have been like, okay, did that even happen? But what a trip. Yeah, what a trip.
What can I say about Saudia? They operate in an extremely tough market, so it's not like I can say that, oh, I highly recommend flying them over their regional competitors. However, I will say that I wouldn't hesitate to fly Saudia again, and I also wouldn't hesitate to recommend them if you're comfortable transiting in Saudi Arabia. The biggest benefit is that their prices are often low these days, and you can earn lots of miles by crediting your flight to their SkyTeam partners. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in today, guys, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video very soon. Until then, as always, fly safe.
I have a question. My dad's cutlery drawer at home is full of airline cutlery. Mostly Etihad from when they used to give you proper cutlery in economy.
Oh, that's why they stopped.
Yeah, Josh, it was your dad. Do either of you to collect stuff from flights? What do you think about people doing this? Is it par for the course, or should people not do this? Cheers, Josh. What do you collect, line cutter Dan?